Well, today is Marketing Monday. Now, what does that mean? Marketing Monday is designed for you to improve your marketing. Now, this is for artists, but quite frankly, these marketing principles apply to anybody. And if you want to learn about how to sell something, how to market something, how to advertise, or how to brand yourself, this is the place to come. So, Mondays on Art School Live, we're doing art marketing. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do lessons. Fridays, we're doing critiques. And so, welcome to Marketing Monday. I'm Eric Rhodes, and this is Art School Live. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we have some questions that I'm going to read, and we also have three guests who are going to be able to ask their questions. And we want to make sure that if you decide you want to ask a question, you can do that too. So, we're going to be posting how to do that pretty soon. And so, pay attention though, because when you're listening to somebody else's challenges, you can see yourself in those. Now, I may have mentioned this before, but I'm on the boards of directors of 15 different companies. Yeah, I know I'm a busy guy. And so I go to quarterly board meetings with these 15 companies, and I am able to see things that the CEOs of these companies are doing that I can see in my own company. And of course, I'm there to try to help them, as are others. But at the same time, I'm going, oh, he did that. I should do that. Or, oh, that's a problem that's looming. That's an iceberg that I'm about to hit. I don't want to do that. So this is something that you can use for yourself. Now, here's the deal. If you are selling your artwork, you are in the art marketing business, whether you like it or not. You are a small business. Maybe you're a big business, but you are a business. And one of the first things to overcome is this sense of, oh, marketing is dirty. Marketing is something I shouldn't do. All you're doing is kind of like raising your hand in class, right? You're like, hey, call on me. I want to talk to you. All you're doing is putting yourself forward so that other people can learn about you, because if they can't learn about you, it's not going to happen by mistake, or very, very unusual that it would. Okay, so now we're going to go to our first question here. By the way, did I introduce myself? My name is Eric Rhodes, and I publish Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazines, plus several newsletters, art conferences, events, retreats, trips, you name it, we got it. Okay, the first question comes from Deborah Watson. Deborah says, hi, Eric, I'm back to selling my merch this year. COVID wiped out a lot of the shops I sold to here on Cape Cod where I live. I'm known as a Charted Mermaids, which I started in 2006, copyrighted my work. I'm getting up there in age now, and I'm blessed to have a friend that's helping me get back out there into storefronts. I did have a website, which did nothing. So I closed it out, and I just kept my name going with GoDaddy. I guess that means keeping the registered URL. My question is, what do you think about Instagram and Facebook? On my Facebook and Instagram, there is most of the artists like Kathy Anderson, and so posting quite often. I love seeing all of their work. Is that a good thing when selling your work? Well, so this is because you said you're getting up there in age, Deborah. This is one of those generational issues that we all face at some point, right? I have made it a very, very important point to stay relevant, right? Staying relevant is very critical, right? I need to be able to keep up with my kids who are 22 years old. I need to understand the media that they're using and how their media is being used and how rapidly things change for them. And as a result, I have deeply, deeply studied Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, you name it, as well as YouTube. We're going to talk about YouTube in a little bit. And so I think it's important. Now, the question is, how much work do you really want to do? And this is what it comes down to. So you said you're back to selling your merchandise, and you're selling them, I assume, in retail locations, gift shops in Cape Cod. Why do you need anything more than that? Now, you might say, okay, well, I want to get to people before they come to Cape Cod, so they seek out my product. That's a cool thing. So if you're going to be using Instagram or Facebook, then what you want to do is call tagging. That's using a hashtag. For instance, you do the hashtag Cape Cod. So if somebody searches Cape Cod you might come up in their search, and then your product, your charted mermaids might show up as a picture. And so, yeah, I think it's a really good idea. I don't think you need a website. The one thing about websites, and by the way, I have hundreds, literally hundreds of them, and I pay lots of registration fees, and they're very valuable for my business. I'm not suggesting nobody should have websites, but why do you need one? You're in gift shops. Unless you want to take online orders, which I don't think you want to do, there's no reason for you to have one. And by the way, artists should typically have some presence somewhere: Facebook, Instagram, maybe a website. And so the question becomes, what's your goal? So let's back up and start with your goal. What do you really want to do? You want to sell charted mermaids in gift shops in Cape Cod. How many do you want to sell? And what can you do to ramp up those sales? Now, retail is something that I don't understand very well. I think I understand some of it. I have a friend who has a very prominent shop in Cape Cod. I could ask him, but I didn't really anticipate this to ask him. But, he has a shop that attracts people who are kind of preppy dressers and so on. And so he is all over Instagram. He's constantly posting things, but he's not posting products for sale. He's posting lifestyle pictures, promoting his lifestyle. He and his wife and his kid and his friends wearing their clothes and having campouts and cookouts, and they're on boats and they're playing with their dogs and they're walking through farms, and they're doing a lot of lifestyle posting because that's the brand that he really wants to emphasize, I assume. I've never talked to him about it, but I follow it. And so I think that you've got to ask yourself, well, what are you going to be posting? If you're just constantly posting pictures of mermaids, that's okay. Do you want to post pictures of your lifestyle, or is that important to you? And do you want to show your grandkids and your family? Is that going to help sell things? Probably not. So let's look at this as a retail strategy. So as a retail strategy, I would think, first off, is I want to know who in town is the best possible retailer for my product. Who's getting the most traffic? Who's making the most sales? Who has the best shop in town? And how do I get in there? And so if you want to get into these storefronts, I think that's important. And what I would do is, first off, I'd go meet with these people and I would show them history of how much your stuff is sold. Now, what does a retailer care about? Now, this, by the way, applies to galleries. This applies to artists selling their paintings in retail locations other than galleries. What does a retailer care about? Okay, here's what I think they care about. Number one, am I going to be able to make enough money to make it worth my time to put this product in there? If I'm only going to make $1 or $2 on this, is it worth my time? Is it worth, number two, is it worth the wall space or the shelf space? Because if I can put something up and make $1,000 versus putting up something and making $500, or versus making $200 or $100. So those are the kinds of questions you want to ask. What's important to you? And then you want to look for ways that you can help them and go in and tell a story, a true story, by the way. But what you want to do is tell a story of how much money you've sold in the past, how well your things sell. Now, unless you're willing to do an exclusive, and I go to places like Cape Cod all the time, and I see the same t-shirts in 5 different stores, and I might not buy one in one, but then I go to the next one, I go, yeah, maybe I should get one of those. And so if you can get into multiple stores, that's going to be the thing. I don't think really, Deborah, unless you want to really move in and keep up with all the social media things, I think I would just ignore it. You don't need it. You already have an outlet for your business. So I know your question is about Instagram and Facebook. It probably takes 5 or 6 good years to build up a good audience and to make it worthwhile. And unless those people are going to go into your store, or unless they're going to be able to buy online, there's not much reason to do it other than branding. And if you want to do branding, that's pictures of your mermaids. And then, you might be able to say, hey, this one happens to be in Bob's bait shop or something like that. Okay. That's Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. Okay. Now let's go to one of our guests online. Let's see here. We have Suzanne Daly. Susan, welcome. Where are you from?
I am from Chalfont, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. All right. So it's probably getting nice there finally.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. So what's your question? Well, first off, tell me about yourself real quickly. Are you an artist?
I am an artist. I work on selling my art, but I've only been doing that for a couple of years, so it's slow going. I have a excuse me, I have a website. I have an Instagram account, and I do a variety of different kinds of art. I also sell a little bit of merchandise.
Okay. So what problem do you want to solve?
Uh, Well, my problem is not exclusively for me, but it's kind of universal problem. And what it is I'd like your advice as somebody who's built a business, who is an artist, and who knows both marketing and art. What what advice on balancing time would you give to an artist who is struggling to build their brand and market while also actively creating the work that is going to deliver their reputation?
Okay. All right. That's very helpful. Thank you. I would think to start out with, you've got to ask yourself, and by the way, I will tell everybody the same thing because this is very important, is you cannot make a decision on your branding or on your marketing or how aggressive you want to be until you know what you want to accomplish.
Mhm.
Okay. And so let's ask that. What do you want to accomplish?
I want to be known, and I want to have people who are interested in the subject matter that I'm doing to know where they can get it.
Okay. So you said three things. You said you want to be known, you want people who are interested in the subject matter, and they want to know where they can get it. You want them to know where they can get it.
Yes.
Okay. So what's number one? What's the one that's 80% for you?
Being known.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question, and there's no right or wrong in this. I don't want to embarrass you, but why do you want to be known?
Because part of the reason that I do art is to interact with the world. And I'm interested in bringing as many people who are excited about art into the situation as possible.
Okay. So if that's the case, do you really care if you ever sell a painting?
Yes, I do.
Why?
I need this because I need money.
Okay. All right.
And
Okay.
also
So
in
which is, but wait, let me just stop you there. Which is most important? Do you need money or do you need to be known?
known.
You need to be known. So being known is more important than money.
Yes.
Is it 80% more important?
I think it is 70% more important.
Okay. All right. So the reason I say that is because there's a thing called the 80-20 rule. I think it's called the
Pareto rule.
What is it?
The Pareto rule.
Pareto rule. That's right. I was going to say Paredone, but Pareto. So you want to have a goal that makes up 80%, right? It's just kind of like making a painting. You want to have a focal point that makes up 80% of your painting, or that is the dominant thing. If you have three equally sized focal points, nobody knows where to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you have three equally sized goals, you don't know where to go. So I am a little confused though, because you said being known is more important to you than making money. And so are you okay being known even if you don't make any money?
I will have to be.
Okay.
But that's not the ideal. The ideal is some kind of a balance between the two. And also, it's a lifestyle question because it's important that people are able to make a decision about how they're going to spend their time and live their lives.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just tell you a little story. And I don't know if you'll get anything out of this, but sometimes at some of my retreats, like the Adirondacks or Fall Color Week, or some of my trips, like the recent Japan trip, I'll say to people, "Hey, we have a little time to kill, and so if you want any coaching, I'd be happy to do it for you. I won't charge them my normal $3,200 an hour fee, and just because they're my customers. I'm trying to help them." And I sat down with this guy, and we went through the same exercise. And he started out by saying, I want to sell art. And when I said, why do you want to sell art? I said, do you need the money? And he said, no, I don't need the money. And I said, then why do you want to sell art? And what we finally determined is that he wanted that recognition. Now, it sounds like in your case, you're a lot like me, right? I'm in a gallery. I'm actually in 3 of them, about to go into a 4th. I provide a little bit of artwork to them, but I don't have to make my living on that artwork. And because I make my living doing things like this. And so as a result, my highest priority isn't about selling artwork. My highest priority is helping people and helping people grow and helping them learn. And of course, when I do that, I get the bounce back effect sometimes, and people say, hey, Eric helped. I see what he's got. I'll get something he's got to offer. So you could kind of take the same principle. It sounds like, for me, and probably for you, it's the social aspect of being able to get people together and have events and get people talking and get people interacting. And if that's your 80 or 70%er, then that's what you're going to focus on. And everything else becomes secondary. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be at an event and show your artwork or have your artwork for sale, or maybe have an opportunity to mention it. But your primary purpose is getting people together, it sounds like, and getting that sense of community going. And if that's the case, then what kind of strategy do you need? Do you need a brand to be able to do that?
I think you do.
Why?
Because I think that that's a way that people hook themselves in to a group.
Okay. All right. So I would agree with that, I think. And so the question then becomes, where are these people? Do you want people all over the country? Do you want people in your town in Pennsylvania? Where do you want?
I think you always start where you are.
Okay.
And I've done that. Like, I'm not saying I've finished doing that, but I started trying to do that. And so I connect with art centers. I'm in shows. I meet other artists.
And how's that going?
It's interesting. It's not particularly salesy.
But wait a minute. You did say that wasn't important to you.
It's not entirely not important, because I would like to come to Fall Color Week, So,
all right. So you want to make a little money to do some of these extra things. And so
yes.
I'll tell you a little story. I have so many stories. I don't usually mention names because that wouldn't be kind, but this artist told me something similar. What she said to me was, I want to get I want to do some travel, and I want other people to pay for my travel. And I also want to sell some paintings, but I want to sell them to really, really affluent people because I need more money and I want to get very high prices. So what I suggested in this particular case, I said, okay, here's what you're going to do. I want you to call and make an appointment with the manager of the local country club. In this particular case, she lived in a fairly big city. And I said, pick out the country club that has the most wealthy people. And I said, now what you're going to do is you're going to offer to do a free art lesson. You're going to say, hey, I think it'd be fun. It'd be fun for me. It'd be fun for you guys. I'll offer a free art lesson one afternoon at a certain time for anyone who wants to attend. And then if there are people who want to attend, then if you're willing, I'll set up a regular art lesson in your building every week. And, I'll check out with you how much I can charge. And also, by the way, if you need me to share some of that fee with you, I'll do that. Okay. So she does that. And she calls me, she says, okay, I've got my first one lined up. What do I do? And I said, all right, here's the move. I want you to fill the room with paintings. If you've got easels, put them on easels, put paintings all around the room, and then have your demo easel. And if they're going to be painting at tables or something, you have to get that all figured out. And here's the move. What I want you to do is say, you do all your welcome and everything. And I want you to say, listen, my goal is to help you get to a level of accomplishment. And I wanted to, sometimes you don't know who you're learning from. So I put some of my artwork around the room and some of the things that I haven't sold yet. And I just put it around the room so you can look at it and see it and hopefully get inspired by it. Or maybe you'll find a style or an approach or a subject that you like and not say anything else about that. Uh, by saying these are some things I haven't sold yet, what happens in their mind? Oh, these are for sale. But she didn't have to say they're for sale. And so she just put them around the room. And then she got everybody kind of painting and so on. And then she would drop a hint, a very subtle hint. But by the way, somebody in the class asked me about could they buy one of the paintings? And yeah, sure, they're all for sale. There's a price on the back if you want to look at it, but no pressure there. And so she ended up selling like 16 paintings.
Wow, yes.
Just from that in that lesson, because these people had time and they had money. Now, she called me back and she was all excited and she said, okay, what do I do next? I said, well, what's your next goal? She said, well, I want to travel. I said, okay, well, you're going to meet how many people in this group signed up for your regular lessons? And she said, well, most of them did. I said, great. So you're going to work together for 3 or 4 weeks, wait till everybody gets bonded. And then you're going to say, hey, does anybody think they'd like to go on a painting vacation with me to Italy? And like everybody said, yeah, we'll go. And she said, okay, well, I'll look into it and I'll get some details. And then a couple of weeks later, she said, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's where we're going to go. We're going to have a great time. We've all made friends. We're going to have a lovely time. And then she put it out there and she designed it so that she made some money on it. And she also paid for her trip for herself and maybe her assistant or her husband or something. So that's the kind of thing that you can do in a situation like that. It's not manipulative. You want to be very gracious about it. You want to be very careful about it. But I think the whole idea is you get people together. If you put things out, inevitably somebody will just ask, right? If they love something, they'll say, and this happens to me all the time. I'll say, is that for sale? And they'll go, yeah. And now some people are a little unnerved about asking, or maybe a little anxious about asking. But if you cover it up front and just say, somebody else in the class asked me this. I don't want to make this a big deal, but this would be an opportunity. That will help you get your community thing going. It will help you get them buying your art. And of course, you're building your brand in the meantime with these people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that helpful enough?
Great idea. That's a great idea. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very, very much for being here. Okay, next I'm going to read one from the I get this question all the time. So this comes from Sharon Dickerson, and she says, I don't know if this is from her. Any tips on finding your ideal client? Well, so yeah, I think so. Every business should have what's called an avatar. And an avatar is your ideal client. I have avatar for my business. I know who buys tickets to my convention. I know who comes and buys videos from us. And there's a lot of different people, a lot of different age groups. But if I look at the majority of sales, there's a particular type of person, type of group. And so I tend to focus my marketing on that type of person. Now, some marketing people will say, well, broaden it out. I like to narrow things because narrow is cheaper, narrow is more effective because you're talking to people in a specific voice. If you're talking, let's say you decide that your ideal client happens to be those women at the country club, the conversations they have are different from a group of people, a bunch of men at a Harley club, right? So you've got to understand, what are they talking about? What's important to them? What kinds of things are they into? So you can speak their language. So how do you find out your ideal? Well, research is a really great way, but the kind of research I'm talking about is really, if you have a gallery, then I would just say, hey, I would like to really understand who buys my artwork. So I don't need to talk to them. I'd like to, if you're willing to let me, and I won't do anything that, underhanded, but I'd like to just call people and get to know them a little bit and thank them for buying my painting. So, you pick up the phone, you call Hey, Bob, this is Mary, and I just wanted to call and say thank you. I'm really honored that you bought my painting. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And then conversation, small talk. And I'm just kind of curious, where did that painting hang in your house? Oh, well, we put it in the living room over the fireplace. And can you tell me a little bit about what appealed to you about that painting? I'm just kind of curious because it'll help me understand for other paintings in the future. And then he'll say, well, we really love the bright colors, or we like this or that. We love red barns, whatever. And then you can say, well, tell me a little bit about it. Who made the decision? Was it you? Was it your spouse or your partner or something? He says, well, it was me, me and my wife. We both fell in love with it. It instantly grabbed us. We looked at a lot of things in the gallery, but that one spoke to both of us. And so we made that decision together. I said, well, tell me a little bit about you guys. So, where do you guys live and what part of town? And, and by the way, if I'm asking anything too personal, you don't have to say anything, but I just trying to understand who buys my artwork. And if you do that, even 5 or 6 times, you will start to understand who's buying, what they're like, what do they have in common. And then it might give you clues. Like if you find out, they all happen to belong to the country club. Well, there you go. That's another country club opening, or maybe they all go to the same church. And then maybe you say, well, I'll do a show with the church, or I'll donate a painting and get some attention, or I'll do a silent auction. So there's a lot of things, but it's really important to ask, try to find out if you can. So here's one more question. Then we have 3 more people live. I don't have a name on this, but maybe it's the same person. It says, we received several questions about framing and the importance of framing. It's not marketing per se, but can you touch base on it? It is absolutely marketing. It is marketing. Absolutely. Okay. So why do people buy beautiful cars? Right. So what about the guy or the gal who's driving down the road and they got their top down, the wind is blowing in their hair, and they're driving a Bentley, a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 car? What is it about that car that they like? That car is their picture frame. That car says, I'm important. I'm wealthy. I can afford anything I want. It says, I'm special. So picture frames really kind of do the same thing. I have told this story before, so forgive me if you've heard it, but a friend of mine at a gallery down in the South called me up. He said, I had this painting. He said, it's a really interesting story. He said, this painting hung in my gallery for a year, and I decided to take it down, send it back to the artist. And he said, I was looking at it and I thought, I don't understand why this painting didn't sell. It's a really good painting. I wonder why it didn't sell. And then he looked at it and he said, I think it's a cheap frame. So he sent it off to his top framer. He said he spent $2,500 on a really good frame. Now, this was not an expensive painting. It was like a $2,000 painting. And so he sends it off to the framer. He puts a $2,500 frame on it. He rehangs it in the gallery, and he puts a $14,000 price on it, and it sold the first week. A frame sends a signal about quality. If you have a really high quality painting and you have a cheap Walmart or Michael's frame on it, it's going to send a signal that it's not really very good. Now, there are a lot of companies that make really beautiful, good frames that are not super mega expensive. You can get a really, really nice frame. These days, it might be $80, might be $50, but I buy frames from a company that I like, and I spend $50, $60, $70, $80 for them, depending on size and design. But it depends on where I'm selling it. Like if I'm going to sell it in a gallery in Cape Cod where people might be wealthier and they look at that frame and they go, it's kind of cheap, then I might put a better frame on it. So think about that. Now, galleries will oftentimes swap frames, but sometimes it's the frame that helps grab them. So framing is really, really important. I encourage you to spend a lot of time on frames. I own a painting here by David Lafell, and David made his own frame for this painting in 1968. It's a classic Lafell. And he really made the frame so that it made the painting really stand out, and it really enriched it, and it's very elegant. And so those are the kinds of things you do need to think about. You spent all this time putting together a beautiful painting and then you put it in a really crummy frame, you're sending the wrong signal. You want to send a positive signal. Okay, who do we have next? We have, let's see here. We have Dale Cook. Hey, Dale.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good. Well,
Good.
I'm not seeing you. I'm not sure why. There you
Oh,
are.
darn. You got me?
There you are. We got you. We got you.
Super, super.
All right.
I've
I
had
think it's
issues before, so
I think it's your internet connection. Dale, tell me first off a little bit about yourself.
okay. I live in Quispamsis, New Brunswick. It's on the east coast of Canada on the most beautiful Bay of Fundy. And I do hope people come and paint here because it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Eric,
Well,
you've got to come up and paint here.
well, I might do that. I happen to own property up in Newfoundland,
Oh, okay. Nice
so I
place to
have a
paint.
good excuse to get close. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me what your challenge or problem might be.
To begin with. Okay. It's about growing a YouTube channel. A friend of mine, Helen Scheidler, and I paint together regularly. We're both retired. We both have the freedom to come and go. And we are COVID buddies. It got us through COVID. So we go out painting in plein air all year round. Now, East Coast Canada, that means sometimes we're on frozen ice
Yeah.
painting fishing shacks. So it's pretty good. So we started a YouTube channel called Art Adventures with Dale and Helen. And it's all about brand recognition and encouraging people to go painting on plein air.
Yeah.
So what we do is every time we go painting on plein air, we do a Facebook Live. Totally unscripted, totally unprofessional, but people get a big kick out of it. So we take content from there. We have cameras, so we get a little bit more background content. And then we both do live time lapses while we're painting. So then we'll edit. We're getting a little bit better at it. We'll edit the video and put it on our YouTube channel, Art Adventures with Dale and Helen. Right now, we're only at 66 subscribers. We get about 100 to 150 views per video. Most videos are maximum around 5 minutes, and the duration is about 50%.
What do you mean the
So,
duration?
pardon?
What do you mean the duration? Meaning that the videos are 10 minutes and you're getting 5 minutes of viewing?
Well, yeah, exactly. So most of these are 5 minutes, so they,
Okay,
the
so what do
numbers
you
go
want to
down.
do?
We want to grow it.
Why?
66 subscribers are not very. Why?
Why?
Exposure. We
Well,
want
what's that
exposure.
going to do for you?
We really want to encourage people to paint on plein air. We're kind of not geared towards the people who are already painting plein air. We're people who, we're more select. Come on, get out. There are so many benefits to painting on plein air, and watching us make all of our mistakes and having a great time doing it, it helps encourage. I hope. So I mean, next week we're going to get our mayor out. She's never painted before, so we're going to take her plein air painting.
Okay. All right. So let me give you a couple of YouTube principles. I obviously am on YouTube. I don't know how many subscribers I have at the moment, probably 170,000 or something like that. We have had millions, literally millions of views when we do it live. Like this, we sometimes only get a couple hundred, sometimes 200 or 300. But then, by the end of the day or by the end of the weekend, we'll get 10, 12, 15,000. And some days we'll get 150 or 200,000. So, and I'm learning a lot about YouTube myself. I study it and I'm working on it right now, as a matter of fact, because I want to grow my channel for the same purpose. And that is, if I can reach more people and get them inspired, get them believing that they can paint, then I hopefully am impacting their lives and changing their lives. Do you know what the most important thing is on YouTube?
No.
What do you think? Take a guess.
Algorithms?
Okay.
Hashtags?
Okay, algorithms is right, but In terms of how to beat the algorithms, what do you think is the most important thing?
I really don't know.
Okay, so the most important thing to YouTube is not how many subscribers you have. They don't care about that.
Mhm.
What they care about is viewing time. So your job with your channel is to look at your analytics. If you open up your YouTube channel, you have what's called YouTube Studio. You can look at the analytics. And when you do a video, you can see how many people are watching when you start and when they leave and when they drop off. And usually, you get this many starting and then it goes down and it goes down. Your job is to pull them all the way across.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you do that? The way to do that is to first off make sure everybody is very clear in the opening what you're going to be doing. The other thing that's very important is the messaging of your thumbnail and the messaging of your title, because title is really, really critical. So if you can find something that's going to create curiosity, so you've got the mayor next week. I took the mayor plein air painting. Here's what happened.
Okay.
Okay. So it's like, what mayor? Who is it? And then when you open up that video, and I suggest that you have you don't just go right into your video. When you open it up, you say, okay, here's what we're going to do today. I live in a small town and we have a mayor, and I'm what's called a plein air painter. I go out, my friend and I go out plein air painting. We do this all the time. That's what this channel's all about. And I decided it would be really funny to take our mayor out because, and what she doesn't know is that I told the newspaper about it, and they have a photographer hiding in the woods. All right. Now,
Oh.
and now you're like, oh, I got to watch this. Right.
Mhm.
And wait till you see what she paints. You'll be surprised. Now, you're not saying if it's good or bad, and wait and see what happens when she discovers the newspaper is there. And like, that's okay. That's going to pull me through. Now, what you've got to do is you have to kind of completely reiterate things once in a while. You got to keep them teased and keep them pulling them through. Now you start your video, and you want to have moments in your video that really are reinforcing that. Okay, Mary and I are out here, we're plein air painting, we're standing on the ice, and today, any minute, the mayor is going to show up. She's the mayor of New Brunswick, and she's really she probably can't paint. And but we're going to try to teach her to paint, and this is going to be really interesting because she kind of has two left feet. I don't want to say anything negative, but this could be a disaster, or it could be a complete surprise. So you're kind of, again, pulling them through and teasing them through. And then what you say, but first Mary and I are going to do our own little painting, and you do your little thing, and you tell people what's going on, and you edit out all the stuff that doesn't matter. The stuff,
Okay.
if you watch a viewing, when you first post your video, if you watch a viewing and you see a dip, whatever is there in that dip, edit it out. And you see another dip, edit it out. Tighten things up. Now, I would say a 10-minute video is probably a little bit short for YouTube. They would prefer something a little longer, 15 minutes maybe. But 10, 11 minutes is okay if you can get good viewership. Now, the other thing that's really important to YouTube is how many people are interacting with you. Are people putting comments in the comments section?
Not really.
Okay. So what can you do to make them make comments? So what do you think? Do you think the mayor's going to do a good job? Put a comment in the comments. How do you think the mayor did? What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Look for ways that you can stimulate that a little bit. And then the other thing that's really important is YouTube. If it doesn't matter how many viewers you have, if the viewers are engaged, if they stay a long time, they're interacting with you, they're going to say, let's find more people who are just like them. So let's say there's 100 of them. They're going to push it out to 100 more people just like them. They already know everything about them, right? They know all of our statistics. And if those people, they're going to put it in the recommendation area. If those people click on it and watch it and they stay a while, they're going to push it out to another 1,000 people. And if those people stay, they're going to put it out to another 1,000 people. And this is how things blow up. This is how things go viral, right? And so this is the key to YouTube. So great thumbnails, really a well-planned video. What I would do in a case like the mayor, right? I'd sit down with my partner and I'd plan it out. What are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? Let's shoot it here. Let's come up with a couple of funny moments. Let's call the photographer and have them pop out of the woods and catch her face and get her, hiding her canvas. And then, let's leave this on a positive note and a high. And, here's the story the newspaper did. And mayor creates beautiful painting. And you'll have great success by doing that.
That sounds great. Good question. Sometimes we watch some of these videos and they have a little introductory video at the very beginning. Do you think that's necessary?
Yeah, I do. It's a lot of people call it a pinned video. What you want to do is have one video. I don't have one, by the way. I've been meaning to do one, but what you want to do is have something that's interesting, engaging, entertaining, fun, that tells a little bit about your story, your personality. People want to know your story. They want to know, there's a thing called a story arc, right? Every movie has a story arc. Person has a problem, person gets in trouble, person falls on their face, person pulls themselves up, person succeeds gloriously and wins the Olympics. And that's a story arc, right? So what you want to do is you and your buddy get on there and say, we do this thing called plein air painting, but whoa, you won't believe what we went through. I'm an attorney, she's a doctor, and we don't have any time and we don't have any training. And we just saw this on YouTube one time. We thought, well, we'll go try this. And we went to the store, we bought some paints, we bought the wrong stuff. It was a nightmare. Problem. And then here's what changed us. We watched Eric has these videos and we watched Eric, or we bought this video, or we went to this workshop or something. Yeah. And our eyes opened up and everything changed. And then all of a sudden, we're making money because people are buying our paintings. And, we don't need to make a lot of money, but it's nice to have an extra $1,000 a month. Wow, that's great. We can use that to go to shoot more videos or go on trips and things like that. So those are the kinds of things that will help you in this journey. Now, you cannot yet monetize your channel. You don't have enough viewers. But eventually you'll be able to monetize it, which means turning it on so that you can make some money from it. And I have friends, I'm in a YouTube community group that I pay to be in. And I have acquaintances and friends in this group who are making millions of dollars by doing one video a week. So quantity is not as important as quality. If you can do one video a week and make it really, really good, that's enough. But you want to be consistent. You don't want to do one week and then wait 3 weeks. It's better if you can do more.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll try it. All right.
All right. Let me know how it goes.
We need you to check it out too.
Okay. Well, we'll post something in the comments so we can tell everybody to go check it out. And we'll ask everybody to subscribe, and maybe, you'll get a few hundred starting right now.
Super. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks. Bye. Okay. Let's see here. We have no more questions. Okay. Oh, here's one from Neil. Neil says, should all online images of paintings be watermarked? So I'm walking down the street. I've got my friend, I won't use the name, got my friend with me. He's a really good painter. He's very well known. And we're walking down the street in this neighborhood, and there's this art gallery. And I said, when did you start showing in that art gallery? He says, I'm not in that gallery. I said, yeah, you are. He said, no, I'm not. And I said, look there in the front window. Sure enough, one of his paintings was in the front window. And we went up to it. He says, that's not mine. That's a copy. And so we went in, and there's a wall of his paintings with his name, and they were all Chinese knockoffs. And what happens is this, there's a company, the gallery owner didn't even know. I mean, he showed us a catalog that he bought them out of. That, they're reproducing hundreds of these, and it's pretty hard to stop it, quite frankly. And by the way, there were sculpture in the catalog, and famous names. And so a watermark isn't going to do you much good. I mean, it might do you a little good if somebody's not so somebody doesn't use the image on somebody else's webpage or something. But if it's going to be Chinese knockoffs, they're going to figure out how to copy it anyway. They're never going to copy it as good as you can, and it's virtually impossible. I mean, there are attorneys who deal with this, but it's really hard when you're dealing with China to get anything done with that. So I don't do it. I probably should do it. I've seen people copy some of the work I do. I'm flattered, but the reality is it's not going to make much difference. You're going to be selling to your audience. And I have a theory on this kind of thing. I learned this theory from a great mentor of mine who said, I don't copyright everything anymore. I don't patent everything anymore, because by the time my competitors are all going to steal it, by the time they steal it, I need to be on to the next thing. And then they'll steal that a year later. And then I got to be on to the next thing. So, okay. Do we have anybody else here? It looks like we do. We have Suzanne Gibson. Where are you from, Suzanne?
Hi, Eric. I'm Suzanne. I'm in Los Angeles, down by the beach.
Oh, nice. Okay. And tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a plein air, not quite such a newbie anymore. So I've been doing it since about 2008 in my memory. And I'm just trying to get out there and get the brush miles on. So that's what I've been doing. And thanks to listening to your podcast and things, I've been exploring different events that are local and not quite so local as well.
Okay, terrific. So what's your question?
So my question is regarding using the old-fashioned press release with the modern invention of internet. Is there any use of using an old-fashioned press release to announce art events? And how do you kind of bridge that with social media versus newspapers? Because not many people are using newspapers the way they used to.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. What do you want to accomplish?
Well, not just for myself, but for events, is using the technique of a press release, sort of like an e-blast now, I suppose. Is there any relevance to using a press release to share your event, or like almost like breaking news? Is there a way to use that?
I get the question. I just wondered if you had a specific purpose. So the answer to that is that press releases are as relevant today as they were 100 years ago. A press release is designed, for the people who don't know, a press release is basically has a headline, and it has a story, and it has contact information of the person putting the story out there. Now, in the old days, even my old days, we used to type them up or put them on the photocopier. We'd get an envelope and we'd drop them in the mail to newspapers or whatever. Today, there are services. There's one we use called PR Web, and you write your press release and you post it on PR Web, and you pay money for that. And it's kind of expensive for some people. It's not expensive for us. And then, we put that press release out there, and inevitably it gets picked up by sometimes dozens and sometimes hundreds of things if it's relevant, right? So they're putting it out there, and you can kind of select, I want this only for Southern California, or you can select, I want this worldwide or national or anything else. But the key to a press release is a strong curiosity-based headline. What are you going to put in that headline that's going to make that editor go, oh, this sounds really unique and interesting? Press releases come in, they get hundreds of them a day. and they're sorting through things and they're trying to find things because you got to, as you're an editor, you got to fill up your website, your newspaper, your newsletter, whatever. And so you want a compelling headline that's going to really get their attention. And then in the press release, you want to have a very, very strong first paragraph, because the way things work in anything, the most important thing you do when you're sending a press release is, what's the subject line of the email? Is it going to grab their curiosity? That's true when you're doing email marketing too. The next most important thing is the headline. And hopefully you've got, and you have to pay extra for this in PR Wire, but hopefully you've got a really interesting, unique photograph. And then you want to have a caption under that photograph. Mary Jones stands on her head while painting, at the Laguna Plein Air Painters Association. And then you can put more photos available below. And then you want your strong first paragraph, and it kind of summarizes everything. And then you want to kind of go through each paragraph is who, what, when, where, why, how, answer all the questions somebody might have. And then you, of course, put your contact information on that. Now, there are people out there who send out press releases all the time. I subscribe to a service. I can't tell you the name of it because I don't remember, but I subscribe to a service every day, 3 times a day. I get an email that says, here are companies looking for stories. And so it'll say, well, here's a story. Look, here's it'll say Forbes magazine is looking for somebody who invested in Bitcoin, or it'll say somebody's is looking for a story who got their kid a job, whatever. And there's 50 or 100 of them. And I browse through those and I look, is there anything in there that I can penetrate? So I'll see something like, we're looking for ideas for Mother's Day. And then I'll go in there and I'll send them an email. I'll say, okay, here's a story idea for Mother's Day. And I'll put the story idea in there. And I've been published many times by doing that. I don't do it all the time because I'm busy and it's hard to do that. But there are lots of services like that out there. And then there's PR Web, PR Wire, et cetera. And you can get stories put out there. So that is a very, very viable solution. It's a very good solution. But most press releases are boring. And if you bore people, you're not going to get them to pay attention. So you've got to be bold, attention getting. That doesn't mean you want to be hype, but you need to be bold. You need to be grabbing them. Now, I want to tell you one other thing quickly, because I think this is important. People like you, and I'm not taking a shot here, people like you assume that people like me already know everything that's going on, right? And I'm not saying that to make ourselves look good, but you're like, oh, well, Plein Air Magazine probably knows about every possible plein air event in the world, right? I mean, that would be the assumption. It's the same assumption that, Newsweek knows every story that's going on in the world, but they don't, and we don't. And sometimes we have to fill, 60 or 90 pages in Plein Air Magazine every issue. We have to fill stories 5 days a week on Plein Air Today. We have to fill stories on Inside Art. We have to fill stories on watercolor, American watercolor, stories on Fine Art Today. And so our editors, and we've got a bunch of them, but they're always like calling on people and saying, hey, is there anything going on? And so you got to make sure you put your stuff in front of them. The other thing that's important is this is a big mistake that people make all the time. And that is, I will get emails all the time. Hey, I wanted to make you aware of this story. We were just featured in this magazine, which is a competitor, and then in this magazine, which is a competitor. And I immediately discount and say, I'm not going to do that story. Why? Because I only want to do unique stories. I don't want to do something that's already been out there. So if you say, you're the first to get this, you'll get an exclusive on this, that's more meaningful to somebody usually. Now, the other thing you can do is editors tend to be so busy that they can't keep up with everything. So if you send a press release or a story to an editor, a good thing to do is say, I've enclosed a pre-written story, which you're welcome to edit or copy word for word. And I've enclosed 10 different photos with captions. You just made my life easy. You just, it's like, oh, I got to fill a slot. I'll take that in the slot. Now, I tell my editors, you always have to rewrite it, but it doesn't have to be rewritten a lot, but some people will run them verbatim, and we have too. But you want to be careful. And of course, we still want to check sources if somebody's making a claim or something like that. Is that helpful?
It's very helpful. Lots of great information there.
Okay. Anything else I can help you with?
That's a loaded question.
Well, let's go there. Come on, let's go there.
A free ticket to the convention? No, not this year, but one day I'll get out there.
Can you make it?
Not this year. It's the same week as graduation for my kids.
Oh, no. Oh, all right, though. I'll give you a free ticket for this year.
Next year.
Okay, we'll ask next year when we get closer. All right.
All right, sounds good.
Okay,
I'll do that.
We'd love to have you. Thank you so much. Okay,
right.
Coach Stroll, I hope this is helpful. I spent, I don't want to say how many years in marketing, and I made every possible mistake. I can remember the first ad I ever bought. I bought it in a magazine. I didn't know how to do it. I was very confused, and it bombed big time. And I got some help, and I learned along the way. And I've wasted more money than I've initially than I made. And then eventually, I kind of figured out how to make it all work. And marketing is rocket fuel for a business. Let me give you an example. Now, I'm running radio ads right now for one of my businesses, radio ads. And I'm testing these ads in one small town in the Midwest. And I'm running one ad every single hour for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 1 month. Now, why would I do that? Because I want to own that radio station. I want everybody to hear that ad 1,000 times, because here's what happens. When people hear something over and over again, initially they don't pay attention to it. It's the same with all advertising, whether it's print advertising or otherwise. You have to be there all the time. You have to repeat all the time. All of a sudden, they start knowing you, start paying attention, start being interested in your product. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to visit their website. And then maybe they hear it again. And this time I'm going to buy something. And so that's why you want to have that sense of repetition. It's rocket fuel. If you do it right. I mean, I have coached artists to become multi-millionaires, and they had nothing. Coached them to success, showed them how to do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it, and you can do it. And by the way, you don't have to do it. I mean, you have to decide what your goal is, but marketing is rocket fuel if you use it properly. And so the goal of this Marketing Monday is to give you some rocket fuel. So I hope that helps. Hey, I haven't had a chance to go into the comments because I'm talking and coaching the whole time, but please leave great comments so that we can hear you, and I'll check in with the comments a little bit later. And please share this with your friends. That's always helpful. If you want to subscribe, we would really appreciate that. Just hit the subscribe button. And what else? Well, we have the plein air convention coming up, as she mentioned, and we would love to, I think we're kind of sold out, but we would love for you to check out the website. And if something opens up, there's usually a wait list. If something opens up, grab it because it's going to be the biggest and best one we've ever done. And at the convention on May 24th, we're going to announce where we're going next year, and it's going to blow everybody away. It's completely unexpected. And of course, you don't get to find out until everybody starts posting it on Instagram when we announce it. And so be watching everybody's posts from Pace, but that's not for a couple of weeks yet. So, hey, thanks for tuning in today. And if you want us to keep doing Marketing Mondays, say something in the chat, and make sure that we'll put in the chat how you can be on Marketing Monday or how you can submit your questions. Thank you for tuning in. And thanks again to my producer, Amandine.